Spoiler warning for episodes 1 to 5 of 不滅のあなたへ all throughout this video. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everybody, my name's Link, here to talk about my first impressions on a spring 2021 anime. It, a mysterious immortal being, is sent to the earth with no emotions nor identity. However, it is able to take the shape of those around that have a strong impetus. At first, it is a spear. Then, it imitates the form of a rock. As the temperature drops and snow falls atop the moss, it inherits the moss. When an injured lone wolf comes limping by and lays down to die, it takes on the form of the animal. Finally, it gains consciousness and begins to traverse the empty tundra until it meets a boy. The boy lives alone in a ghost town, which the adults abandoned long ago in search of the paradise said to exist far beyond the endless sea of white tundra. However, their efforts were for naught, and now the boy is in a critical state. Acquiring the form of the boy, it sets off on a never-ending journey in search of new experiences, places, and people. Okay, so before we get started, I'd like to ask everyone to please heed the spoiler warning for this anime. I don't usually double down on those warnings because them being in the forefront makes me assume you've seen it, or if you're like me, who does watch it anyway even with the warnings up. Because you don't really mind spoilers, but I really ask you to hit this one warning at least. There's something about this anime that can really only be experienced when jumping in blind. It's worth it, I promise. At least check out the first episode, then come back to this. Though, if you did do that, I'm confident y'all wouldn't be able to put it down like I wasn't able to. And with that out of the way, if you're still here or you did actually come back after watching it, then let's get to it. Admittedly, when I first saw the anime listing and live chart, I had no idea what the hell it was trying to convey. But the preview I saw for it was definitely intriguing, enough to stay with me that I kept an eye on it even as it got delayed by the big bad Rona. While every other anime out there, I accepted in stride until it eventually did show. And God, did it deliver that sense of mysticism and somberness I first got from its PV. This is based on a manga, but as with all my videos, I'm covering strictly what we've seen in the anime. The story thrusts you right into it with a disembodied voice releasing this magical ball without much of a reason as to why. And already it seems interesting, as there seems to be some higher being out there who just wants to play and watch a life for its amusement. A life that we soon learn is bound to suffering, and he knows it. This follows the most heartrending tale of a lonely boy with his dog, for me at least. I've always been weak to dog stories, and I'm pretty sure the story writer knew that this is one of the most powerful story pieces because they just cranked that shit up to 11. Especially with the boy, who people will probably at a glance say looks like Shion from number 6, but he reminds me more of Alan Walker from The Gray Man, to be honest. He is so incredibly sad. He's a singular boy trying to survive in a frozen wasteland, but he always has a smile on his face. Something we all know is just a strong front he puts on so that he can cope with the crushing loneliness. He tries so earnestly hard to make the best of everything, and we can't help but just root for him to succeed. And the story knows very well what it's doing by framing it receiving the boy's love and care as a dog, making everything so pure and wholehearted. Not even letting a shadow of a doubt on just how much of a good guy, just trying his best this boy is being. I can go on about how from a story standpoint, he was just the perfect conduit for it to be first introduced to, and in that form in particular. Nothing can really match the love a boy has to his dog that's also his only companion in my opinion. And that said boy has also developed another coping mechanism of speaking for his dog to really make him fit the mold of his only friend, letting it to learn the very basics of functioning as well as affection. But all of those are really second to the emotional impact of just watching these two bond, knowing there's something terribly wrong in the wide expanse of nothingness they lived in, and empty dilapidated houses just buried in the snow, and yet they stand alone together. There's just a looming sense of dread as they see nothing for miles on end in search of their paradise. The storytelling and character building here is one of the best I've seen in anime. The first episode alone shows the mastery of crafting a likable but pitiable boy who knows nothing and only wishes for something as simple as a fruit. All the while weaving a depressing story you can see just beyond the boy's smiling face. And the show is brutal. Rarely can an anime exude such raw emotional distress that can literally wring at my poor little heart like it was a sponge. Misery isn't something new to anime, but I can argue it's used too much without much expertise to the point that it feels uncomfortable rather than invoke any strong emotions. The voice acting, the art, the music, the build-up, everything works in painful harmony to make you mourn for these characters. Episode 1 impacted me so much I was almost too scared to continue with episode 2, highly doubtful that it'll ever live up to the absolute masterpiece the opening episode was. And I was right! To an extent. I still feel like that in the 2 arcs it has, the story with the boys still left more of an emotional impact on me. But I won't lie when I still cried at the conclusion of the 2nd arc. And it's never just a small pain in the moment too. It's a slow building ache in your heart the moment the climax ends and the reality of their actions sink in. Like I joked about it when I said I'm traumatized by a chair now, but it really is a wonder of effective storytelling when an anime can transform a seemingly ordinary thing into something that can solicit such a knee-jerk reaction. The other thing I like about this anime is that it isn't afraid to get explicit. No, not that, you perverts! There's an attention to detail that they didn't really have to go the lengths to, but added so much all the same. From gory dismemberment to people soiling themselves. Nothing really feels it simply for the shock factor, that every painful and traumatizing experience is more of a learning experience a non-human has to learn. Though it might seem I have nothing but praises for the show, I did notice some minor lapses in quality of the background, and at times generally not so polished animations. But those are really just minor grievances, and the studio knows where to put their money shots where it matters. One thing I did wish for, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me here, is that I kinda wish they didn't have the whole moving into the afterlife scene. Not that it ruined it. If anything, it was a soothing salve as we can all rest easy knowing that the boy found happiness in the end. But that's the thing. I wanted it to hurt. Leave a huge gaping hole in my chest, being unaware of the fate of the boy as he quietly passed after failing to get his paradise in life. It's not a, oh no, they ruined the scene moment for me. Just that I already gave them my tears before that scene, and now I want them to fuck me up. But then again, they did manage to use it later as a plot device, so who knows. I won't lie, the anime did go to a place I didn't want it to go, and that is needing it to battle. Due to my prior dissatisfaction with how Kemono Jihan handled it, I fear Bum灭no a na ta he might have the same pitfalls. It's not exactly part of an interesting fight scene formula when you know that the main character literally cannot die, sapping all tension from the clash and leading to the protagonist looking more like a weapon than a human, which I thought was the entire point of Bum灭no a na ta he. And I was hoping the journey was more focused on the emotional turmoil than physical ones. Like, yes, he'll know about the cruelty of humans all the same, but I'm just concerned based on the OP that it might play a part in most, if not all, his coming encounters. But then again, I'm pretty sure Kemono Jihan didn't really have the guts to show the eternal suffering that can come with being immortal, so I'm keeping my hopes up. And that's pretty much all I got for this one. As I said in a previous video, that you won't be able to watch, fuck you personally, Mobeats. This spring anime is a bit weak with anime. I feel like most of them don't really have much for me to say on or didn't give me enough to go off of to make a video. So I just thought to make one big video to compile all my brief thoughts on them. So the next video might be a bit late. And that's it for this one, everybody. Drop a comment down below on your thoughts of the anime and how you're liking it so far. Check out this playlist to see my other series where I review and recommend anime you might not have heard of. Are they hidden gems or do they deserve to fall into obscurity? Let's find out together. And as always, don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you liked the video and consider subscribing for all things weeb and anime. Bye bye!